Hi, my name's AudreyGale and I do art. Today I'm going to be talking about how I make art prints from my original artwork using only my iPhone. I tried to seek advice on this topic for years and I just came up with a bunch of videos that weren't really helpful. I've also tried outsourcing my prints to local print shops and there's just not a great way for me to do that financially and also to get the quality that I want and to get my prints on demand like I want. I don't have any fancy cameras. I don't really have even a lot of technical knowledge. I'm not really tech savvy, but I have been able to figure out how to get a good quality art print of my original art. This allows me to sell my art at art markets for a much more reasonable price. Having prints at your art markets really make your art more accessible for everyone. So let me take you step by step of how I'm going to turn this original art piece into a print. Let's take a look at it. So this is an original acrylic painting of a Charizard Pokemon card, if you're not familiar. This is pretty much the most iconic Pokemon card there is, and also one of the most expensive. So I decided to paint it for fun, because I've been getting into that lately. This is on a thick canvas, and it's 18 inches by 24 inches. So what that means is that I really can't use a scanner to make this a print. Most of my original art pieces are on canvas or wood. I don't do a lot of flat drawings and stuff. If that were the case, I could put a flat drawing on a scanner to get a copy of my art print and make prints from that. But since I don't really do that, what we're gonna do first is take a really good photo of this. One of the best ways to take good photos of your art is to take it outside. The natural sunlight is a really good source to get a really good photo of your art. However, it's been really gloomy here this week, so I'm gonna have to take it inside. I recommend that you take photos of your artwork before you varnish them. When you varnish your paintings, it can sometimes create a sheen that will create a glare when you're taking a photo. That's gonna make it a lot more difficult to take a good photo. So I'm gonna take the photo before I varnish it. I'm gonna use a little bit of lighting to see if I can get a really good angle. Once I find a spot with good lighting, I make sure to snap a few photos. I'm using this lamp to make sure I can get good lighting on the photo without actually causing too much of a glare, which can sometimes be tricky, but let me show you a trick. So I'm gonna take this white pillowcase, or you can do a white sheet, and I'm just gonna kind of place that over my light source. That's really gonna soften the light source. Softening your light source can help you avoid glares on your painting. So this is my light source here. And this is a pretty good angle right here, but as you can see, if I were to move it like up here, there's a big glare right there. You want to avoid stuff like that because with this acrylic painting, it's just plastic. It dries as plastic. So any sort of light is really gonna bounce right off of it and not in a good way. So you want to avoid all of that. So now I'm gonna go into my phone and actually edit the photo. So I'm gonna open up the Photos app. I've selected my photo, and now what I'm going to do is edit the photo to kind of crop out anything unnecessary. And I also want to make sure that the lighting is appropriate. So we did the best we could indoors with the lighting, but you know, sometimes that doesn't really, an indoor photo doesn't really show the best representation of the actual painting, my original art pieces. And that's not to say, I mean, we're not really changing the integrity of the photo. That's really important to say. But we're just kind of sprucing it up to make it look more like the real thing. Okay, so let's look at the before and after. This is our before. That's our after. I think I'm going to tone it down a smidge. All right, now that we have kind of color corrected our photo, what I'm going to do is just press and hold on our image. And from there, I can save that as its own image. I'm going to get rid of everything on the edge here that I don't want included on my print. And I'm going to do that by using the Procreate app. So we're going to open up Procreate Pocket. And Procreate Pocket, I believe, was $6.99 for the iPhone when I bought it. This is the iPhone version. We're going to import that photo. And there we have it. So what I'm going to do is take this eraser and we're going to go in and clean up all of the stuff that we don't want. I have an iPad now. I do it on the iPad now, but I did this for a long time before I had the iPad. I did this on my iPhone. I would definitely recommend getting something like a stylus. That would really make this easier for you. So I want to use my eraser tool. And we want to make sure that we click on these two things here. That gives me the size of my brush. You can go up and down, make it as small or big as you like it. On this button, you can kind of mess with the opacity here. The main thing is that I always put this at 100. And I do 100%, I do a big eraser for my bigger areas. So I'm just going to use my finger here and kind of get rid of the bigger stuff that I don't want. I'm also getting rid of this blue edge. Oops. So let's say I make a mistake like right there. I obviously don't want to have all that covered up. So I'm going to use a double tap, 2 fingers. Boom, it's gone. Let's say that I actually didn't want to erase that. I want to bring it back. I'm going to use 3 fingers. It's back. So if you find yourself making a mistake, it's pretty simple to get rid of. So what I'm going to do is use this little finger button, and we're going to zoom in on our photo. Get our eraser back out, and we're going to erase these bigger parts. I'm going to go all along the edges here. So now I've got the bulk of the edges gone. All of that wooden easel that was there is no longer there. And I'm going to use my finger here. And I'm going to zoom in real close. I'm going to take my eraser size. And we're going to make sure it's a lot lower. Because this is where we're going to get really detailed. This is where I'm going to make sure it's real close up to the edge. And you might even want to get in there a little bit closer where it's pixelated and you can really get rid of any of that extra stuff. So like right here, I'm getting rid of that navy border. Okay, so now I've gone through the entire border. I've gotten rid of all the excess stuff that I don't want. And now I'm just going to kind of zoom in. Let's use that little finger tool again. We're going to zoom in and get a really close look at the work here. And I'm just making sure there's nothing else that I want to touch up. No, let me look at it as a whole again. I don't think there's anything that I really want to mess with. So, what I'm going to do now is where my technological skills really shine. And I'm going to take a screenshot of this. Okay? And then I'm going to go back to the home page. That's going to automatically save for you. And then I'm going to import that photo of that screenshot. I know that's kind of funny, but what I'm going to do is take that eraser again. Let's make it big. And this is going to create the white background of my print. Oh, see how I messed up? Double finger. There we go. Let's get rid of all that. Okay, so now we have a piece of artwork with a good plain white background. It's really hard to get a white background in real life, so it's best to just digitally make it happen. I'm going to be using my Canon Pro 200 printer. The Canon Pro 200 has 8 inks. Something like this is going to be better than using like your classic 3-color, 4-color printer. That's going to make sure that all your colors from your art piece really are replicated on your print. For my paper, I'll be using Red River Paper's Palo Duro Soft Gloss Rag in 8x10. So we're gonna go down to here and make sure it's the right size. We want 8x10. And for this paper in particular, I do the Plus Semi-Gloss. Usually when you buy paper like this, it'll tell you what kind of settings to use on what kind of printer you have. So now I'm gonna open up the Canon Print app. And we're going to make sure to press photo print. We're going to do smartphone. And then I'm going to take that last photo from Procreate and add that. Next. And then we're going to make sure our print settings have the size that we want. So we're going to do 8x10. We want 1 copy. And I always do bordered as my option. I like a bordered print. And I'm going to make sure that it has that semi-gloss per our settings. We're going to click this right here and make sure that our print is nicely in frame like we'd like. Just like that. We're going to press OK. And we'll press print. Make sure to keep this open while it's printing. And here's the finished product. I'm pretty happy with it. Very good quality. The colors look very similar to the original. And I'll be able to make, potentially hundreds of these prints to sell them at my markets. So that way people don't have to spend a boatload of money to get the original. And more than one person can enjoy the art. I hope this video helped you and that now you'll be able to make your own art prints at home. If you like videos like this, I post videos about art business, art tutorials, art markets, murals, paint parties, all sorts of stuff. So if you're into that sort of thing, please subscribe, and thanks for watching. Bye.